Welcome back, everybody, to, this is not a welcome back, really, this is a different part of the show. This is Storytellers Talk to Twitch chat, and this is the time where I change the name on Twitch and I tell you guys to entertain chat.
Okay.
So,
Super, and I don't have I can juggle stuff, but I don't have anything here, so,
oh, you
sorry
can
about
actually
that.
juggle?
Yeah, I can.
Awesome.
It's not that difficult. I mean,
Yeah, like basic juggling is pretty easy. It's
Yeah.
when you start
I've-
adding four
I've-
objects or
I've
more.
tried juggling with 3 things, whatever, I've never made it. Like,
No, that's not how you start out.
never.
You
you
start out,
start
you
with
actually
two.
you take two
Or
objects
with
in
the-
one hand usually, and you just up, and you get a circle going because it gets you used to the motion. And when you can do that with both hands, you can add a third object, and then you're just tossing it back and forth, and then it's really easy. It should, like if you do it in the right order, it shouldn't take you more than like half an hour to learn to juggle 3 objects. From that point, you can pretty much do it.
It's also
And- yeah.
easier if you start with the cloth or something instead of balls, because it's lighter and it falls slower. So it's just easier to grab.
Interesting. I might try that.
The more you know.
Anyway, so in the part of the show, guys, you ask us questions and we will answer them, and that's kind of about the whole philosophy of this part of the show. And as you guys get your questions ready, we will see what Feyama has thought about Pinball Storytellers. Have you watched the previous episodes?
Yeah, I'm a moderator here, so I
I don't
pretty
know
much
that,
have to. It's like even if I don't like it. No, yeah, I watched it. I watched it from the first episode. I think I missed one in between, but I watched most of them. Yeah.
So because besides us, you have the greatest experience with one of the people that have greatest experience with Pinball Storytellers. You've played in it and you've watched almost all of them. So tell us a bit about the show. What, in your understanding, is Pinball Storytellers?
I think Pinball Storytellers takes your fond childhood experiences and makes them fun again. I think that's what it does partly. I think it's about because I think shorter stories are something you often encounter as a child or in school or something like that. And I think that it is the simplicity of it that is really endearing, and you just take it from older times when somebody told them to you or something, and you just take them again, and it's like, okay, I'm an adult now. Let's talk about this. Is this realistic? How could they actually react? You think stuff through when in comparison to when you were younger, and you probably never thought about things like that. Maybe not everything. I mean, if you take the sci-fi episode, I don't think that's something you should read as a child. But like the fairy tales, for example, I think that's it. I think it's a lot about not just receiving, because you're very receiving when you listen to stories. I think it's about interacting with the story. It's about becoming active in it. Yeah.
Interesting. That's a new viewpoint, and I like it, and it fits.
I was already scared you'd throw me out after this. So glad.
So we don't seem to have any questions yet.
I like that though. The idea that we're taking childhood stories and making them interesting to adults.
It's interesting to see how this show goes on and gets transformed into different things with every episode. I feel like as we go on, each episode kind of builds up the ground level of what this is. It's kind of weird. I had to put it at start. When we first had our first episode, we were like, oh, this is great, it has potential. And yeah, we're happy about it. But I think it evolved past that. I think it's a lot bigger than that right now. In my opinion, it feels like something that's more established right now, something that's more a thing. Like, I know what this is. I know what I'm dealing with. I have understanding of this, and it feels better. It feels like interpretation and improvisation comes a lot easier in the show right now. And I don't have that feeling anymore. I was talking about this in the previous Storytellers Talk to Twitch chat. I was telling me and Justin were talking about We are so scared. Like at the beginning of the show, it's like this is gonna be bad. This is gonna be horrible. Oh, this is gonna suck. and we just go through it, and it's awesome at the end. Every time
Talk
it's
about
better.
self-confidence.
Yeah. And now I do not have that feeling anymore. Now we are prep. So let me give you guys the prep. I do actually want to change that. I want to have more prep for this because more content, but this was the prep for this week. We talked on a Thursday.
That was yesterday.
Yes, yeah, it was yesterday. I talked to like while I was waiting for H1Z1. I was talking to Justin in chat. We selected the story. After 15 minutes, I talked to Feyama. After about an hour, we had her confirmed. And
It was like 8 p.m. It was after 8 p.m. or something.
Yeah,
I was like, what is it?
I take out the story. I make a Skype group. I put the story in there. Read it. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, that was it.
That was a prep. That's all we did. And it feels like some of the parts were scripted, to be honest. Like if I remember some of it, but if I look at it, I think it's gonna be even more. Like it was good. It felt scripted. When something feels scripted and it isn't, it usually is good. It means it went good.
Oh yeah, Gorlark's point is good. We thanks to something Gorlark said midway through the episode, we now have a new format. We need to think of a cool name for it, like Combo Breaker or something. But the new format's going to be, we're going to take stories that have two parts in their title that are separated by a conjunction, and we're going to put them together. So Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, we're going to take the Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, and we're going to put them on a list, and we're going to put Robin Hood and his Merry Men, we're going to take Robin Hood and put it on one list, and Merry Men and put it on the other list.
Yeah, I think.
And we're going to randomly
that's a
combine things together.
It's going to be like Robin Hood and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yes!
That would be great. And we had an idea of the Seven Dwarves once because we thought we can't play Seven Dwarves. Oh, but maybe we have a dwarf that's crazy and think he has 7 personalities.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I like that.
Anyway,
One out of 7 dwarfs is always happy, right?
Joe, no, I actually asked Justin if he can call one night before. He couldn't do it, so not my fault.
Yeah. Chucky's and my schedules don't line up, and I'm always really busy, and he's really busy. So normally we prep on Monday, but for those of you who know, I had just gotten back from the Bachata Festival. I didn't even end up streaming on Monday. I had a ton of stuff to take care of, so we didn't do our normal Monday prep. So yeah.
Yep. So and mine, yes, that's what I meant by I put the story in chat. We try and find the original story on the internet usually, and we post in the chat because we need to make sure that we're reading the same tale. So the tale is east of the web, short story something, and that's where we took it, and we all got the same story again. Yeah, you can see the chat. And that's kind of about it. Yes, this is a great format, this guest thing. I think it's a lot better bringing people into this. It feels like the improvisation combined with us showing the way of how this is done is very good.
What was very interesting for me is because I'm not a GM, right? I'm not per se a storyteller in that way, but I think it was very interesting because I could shape. I think everybody has an idea about characters and about how a story should be. So I really like that you can shape it in a way. You can respond to things. It's not like everything goes as normal, but you're like, hey, I had an idea about that. How about we do this? So I like that you can actually respond to things for once. It's not just like reading, but you can actually do something about it. I really like that. And you don't have to be like a DM or a GM or like really shape a story. You can just interact with it as it is.
Yeah, you just need to be open-minded and just let your imagination go. I don't know if you guys have 2 versions of Grim Fable, an old and cruel one and a modern one with 4 children. At least in Germany there are 2 versions, even more depending on the location. It depends. Yes, there are a lot of different versions. but we try and just choose one and keep with that. Like all of us read one version, and I see Justin's trying to say something, so go.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say that the original version of Grimm's was actually aimed at adults, and the illustrated versions came out later, and they there was a huge market in children, but their editor told them they had to cut some of the stories and cut some of the things from the stories. The violence actually went up, but they had to remove all the sex. So, and there's some stories like Hans Dumb that got cut entirely. Hans Dumb's a really like weird story where a guy wishes that a princess would have his child, and he can wish for anything, and for some reason he wishes for that, and then he wishes to be a prince, like in that order. Like he could have done it in the other order, and it wouldn't have been a very good story. But he's like he can literally wish for anything he wants multiple times. It's like unlimited wishes.
Oh, that's actually inspired from a Russian fairy tale that's very, very old. I know because I have a Russian fairy tale book somewhere around here. When we first started prepping for this show, I downloaded Grimm's Fable, Hans Sanderson, Russian fairy tales, Japanese, Chinese, and something else. And I actually read all of them. So this was a Russian one that I really liked. It made really no sense. It wasn't a great story. I don't know why I liked it.
You can't make a story that makes sense around a guy who can wish for anything.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even in that story in the Russian, the emperor comes towards him, and because he made a bigger castle than his, so he just wishes a statue of him imprisoned, and him being the statue. It's weird.
It's strange.
I actually have a very old and very cruel book with fairy tales. It's very interesting.
So we usually pick the oldest version. Not always. There's been a couple of exceptions, but we usually pick the oldest version and that we know of for a particular story, and we work from that, even if it's or maybe especially if it's the more adult version, because Feyama made a good point that
our
making the
shows,
stories is good.
my stream, our shows not aimed at. Like, I know there are family-friendly streamers out there, a lot of them. Some even made their careers around this. Not a family-friendly stream.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I swear a lot. I know.
Yeah, like, if I had to say I wanted to be a family-friendly stream, I would have to go against my nature, because when I get angry, I say fuck a lot of stream. It's just is because
I don't think D&D is family friendly.
And exactly that D&D is not.
I don't curse very much, but people keep asking me questions about sex in my stream, and I answer them. So, and I don't actually think sex is an inappropriate topic for children, but a lot of people disagree with me. So my stream is definitely not family friendly.
So that's why the content warning is there when you guys first enter the stream. But I hope for those that actually watch, that's no problem. And I think that people, like children, would really have a good time here. Well, most. I have actually met children that are smarter than me. I have met children that would make me look like fool. Like, he could stand in here and just, like, right here and make me feel humiliated, like, humble at his, like, child prodigies.
That's mainly your low self-esteem, though, Chucky.
Maybe. Well, let's see, do we have any other questions here?
I think that was it.
Justin definitely doesn't have a family-friendly stream. No, doesn't seem like we have any questions around. Yeah, I'm liking, so I still, even if we don't have a lot of questions, we haven't had a lot of questions in the past Storyteller Twitch chat. I feel like this part of the show still has its very good reason, because us talking about the show however we want it and so on.
I think what we should encourage maybe is if you had any ideas in the story, right? As a viewer, if there was anything you would have done differently, or if there was something you totally wanted to see, that would be a point where you could, engage with us and say, hey, if I would have played the prince, I would have done this and that, or couldn't you have done this against the enchantress or something like that? So if you have your own ideas, you can just share them.
Oh yeah, good point. We talked about this in a previous episode where we had Puck, the Master Thief, and we were talking about, because we followed the story a lot, people asked me how I would have done it on my own if I hadn't known the story, and I went through all, I told it basically how I would do it if I was put on the spot. So if you guys want to talk about our characters and everything, the only one thing I have to say about Feyama's characters, both of them try to fuck off. I don't want to do anything. Fucking off. It's like, I'm taking my toys and I'm going home.
Actually, I have a question for Feyama. I think this
this
is an interesting storytelling device. Do you think that's how a prince would act, Feyama? Like that's how a guy would act? Or were you just trying to make the story make sense?
To be honest, when I that he wanted to leave when you mean what?
No, at the well when you seduced Rapunzel and when you left.
I don't think seduced is a word we can use here.
I guess so. The thing is, how I imagined the prince was that he was he was not that old, right? And he was kind of fascinated he liked the music. And she was hot. Hello. And she was really interested into him. She was she kissed him first and everything. I didn't feel like there was any reason for him to resist. Why would you? It's like, I am a prince, I have responsibilities. That's not how he is.
Let me give you an example. In our today's society, a child that's given everything, and everybody treats him with respect for nothing, how does he behave? He's a spoiled brat. That's what we called him. Okay? And those times, when it was magnified by 10, how does a prince behave? I would say if she was seen on in the city, and if the prince just really wanted her, he would have the guards take her up. And that's a normal thing in those times.
It was normal. It did happen, though.
Yeah, it was normal is decided by what happens regularly without any interference or.
Well, it was acceptance. There was a Scottish proclamation when England owned Scotland that the local lord could have every woman who was married on her wedding night.
Sorry.
That was a real thing that happened. So you have these local lords literally going around to every village and every wedding,
and taking their first night,
having their way with every bride on their first night. Yeah,
I know. It's actually.
Also, you made it sound like kind of a bad thing, but
yeah, that happened in Romania as well.
They basically both agreed on easy sex, right?
I'm not arguing. It was consensual sex. I was totally fine with it.
It's happened in Romania as well. When we were first conquered by Romans, they did it to make more Romans be birthed in Romania, so that Thrace wouldn't have that much influence in there. Well, anyway, going back to the story. I want to ask you, chat, and you, Justin and Feyama. I tried when playing Rapunzel to play a girl without any social inhibitions, and none whatsoever idea of society, of normal life. So how did that feel to you? Because it's always hard to portray something that you have not been through. And this was actually one of my first tries at portraying a hermit kind of character. I'm talking to you guys right now. I'll wait for chat to respond in 30 seconds.
So I think what I liked is she wasn't the brightest, right?
Yeah.
But I think she still had her own character. I think if she, you could kind of feel that if she would be able to go out and learn more about the world, I think she would turn out pretty clever in the end. I think she was a pretty clever character. So I guess it was you could feel that she was kind of held back because she couldn't experience. She was, curious, I think. So I guess she was kind of held back in her ways to experience more things. I think you could feel that, yeah. Because
Okay.
she was pretty straightforward about many things.
Yeah, because in my idea of a character that is a hermit, right character, there's no inhibition. There's no, this isn't appropriate, or I shouldn't do this. It's only whatever she thinks normal because it's in her head. There's nobody or anything or nobody to tell her no. This is not how you do it. This is not right.
I agree. I think that's an important part of
Of trying to play a character,
trying to play a character and trying to tell a story. Your story has to make sense.
you need to empathize in all of the aspects of the story.
Yeah, and if you start out with a series of premises, you should be logical about where those premises lead. If you want to tell a good story, you know.
Especially that's why we don't go with a fairy tale format. Like, fantasy is fantasy, but always in my head would be fantasy is different from science fiction because it does not have limitations, no rules. There is extreme fantasy, and there is fantasy bound in some rules, bound in some laws, bound in some abstract realism. I always enjoyed that kind of fantasy. Like, for example, that would be, if I had to say, that would be the Honor-bound world. Is a high fantasy world bound in several laws and abstract realism. Right? When I say abstract, I mean the realism that applies to the world itself. If you guys can understand what I mean by that.
I understand.
Okay. I mean, I don't think we see anything else here. Do you guys want to talk about? Do you have any other topics we're gonna approach?
No. Oh, I will say one thing. I was reading a. I just finished reading Heinlein's authorized biography,
Okay.
and I was thinking about something Heinlein said once, which is that the best stories he wrote were a result of understanding certain things about the world. And one of the reasons that H.G. Wells wrote such wonderful stories is that he knew more about the world than anyone Heinlein had ever met or talked to. And H.G. Wells was actually, in addition to being a noted author of fiction, he wrote 3 wonderful books. One of them called The Work, Wealth, and Happiness of Mankind, which was a summary to date of everything we understood about economics.
Wow.
Literally everything we understood about economics. The Outline of History, which was a summary to date of all history, like the history of the entire planet / world. Like, it starts out with the creation of the Earth as we understood at the time, fossil records, dinosaurs, extinctions, and the other one was The Science of Life, which was our summary to date of all we knew about biology. And he was experts in all 3 of those things, and in addition to many other fields. And I think that it ties back into that point. If you want a story to be believable, you have to take certain premises and then operate as if they are true. If it's fantasy, you have to operate as if dragons are real, or necromancy is real, or what are these things and how would they actually affect the world?
That is exactly what I tried to say with abstract realism.
Yeah, and you have to understand how the actual world works and why things happened the way they did in order to do that in a fictional story. So, like, what changes are happening, and that's sort of one of the things that I really like about D&D, and I've always liked about D&D. Is a lot of the people I've played with have been historians. They've been SCA people who actually fight in armor with weapons.
Robert was a history teacher.
Yeah, Robert's he has a degree in history with an emphasis in medieval history. And it's like Robert is one of the very few people that understands why Nordic boats are shallow drafted and how they didn't just sink. Because normally a shallow draft boat in an ocean will get tossed by the waves in such a way that it sets up like an interference wave in the hull that causes the hull to start shredding itself, which is why shallow drafted boats can go up rivers, and therefore they're very good for raiding. And it has to do with how the planks are arranged. But if you don't know if you don't know little things like that, you're not going to understand why certain things are the way they are in history, and it helps you to tell better stories the more you understand about the world.
I think, I don't know, but for me it's like you need to care about something to tell good stories, right? I mean,
Yeah, you definitely need to be
I
passionate.
care about my characters when I play them, even if it's just for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I always think about, okay, what do they like? What is their life like? What are their, what are their strengths, their weaknesses, something like that. So it's not just, I mean, I pretty much made my characters were only funnier this time, but I can also do the serious characters. But even if I do funny characters, I try to care about them in a way, and just imagine how they are. And if you take that a bit serious, if you're not just going in there, well, these are my stats, I'm going in with that. But if you actually reflect that and think about what the stats mean for your character, what their background means for them, then I think it's automatically a better story. Doesn't matter if it's funny or sad or serious.
I completely understand you, Feyama. I think you have a very good point. I already said my bit on this. I'll now repeat myself. I would say that if you wanted a source of inspiration for D&D, history. History is the best source of inspiration for D&D. And I'll give you an example. Honor Bound is 30% history. Isn't a bit more. Like a lot of references and a lot of events in Honor Bound are stuff that happened in history. Give you just a small thing, which I don't think many people have gotten. Just a small thing. Iscariot. Iscariot is the name of Judas. Is the real name of Judas, the one who sold Jesus. And the whole bit with a silver
You
arm.
call that history, Chucky? Just
It's still history.
Interesting.
It's a reference, yeah. You can't even if something is fictional, like some people say that Bible fictional. Even if it's fictional, it still had a very deep impact on the world, so it's still history. Anything that shapes the world as it is now and makes it as it is now, it's considered history. In my mind, at least.
Next time on Pinball Philosophers.
Pinball Philosophers. And I think that's it. So, any closing remarks, Vera?
I had a blast. Was fun. Thumbs up.
Awesome. Justin?
No, not for me. I had a really good time, as always. I will be streaming right after this, so if you guys want to check me out on Twitch TV at Cavalier Guest, it'll just be a couple minutes before I get the stream up.
Yeah,
and I will see you next time.
He will be hosted here, but I do deeply encourage you to go and do his chat because he has an awesome chat. Okay, so that's about it for me. Tomorrow, 30th birthday of a friend. We're basically gonna nerd it out because she has rented out a full game shop. So we're gonna play games. We are gonna drink enormous amounts of alcohol, and I'm gonna be the bard of the party. So that's about it.
With lyrics this time.
No lyrics.
No. Oh.
No, I have somebody that sings. I cannot
Okay.
sing. I cannot sing. Literally, it's impossible. I actually tried. I took classes. They told me, as nice as they could have, you do not have a voice whatsoever. You do not have a voice.
Okay. You tried.
I tried. I really tried. So that's about it. I will see you guys over on tomorrow for Honor Bound. Not tomorrow. Sunday for Honor Bound. See you then. Bye bye.